What up YouTube? Salvador Briggman here with the Life of Freedom YouTube channel. So today I want to talk about a video that I made recently that caused a bit of an uproar in the community. Basically, I put out a video saying, what is the problem with El Salvador? And literally, whatever you say there's a problem with something, whenever there's criticism, you're always going to get hate. So you can go and watch this video. I'll include it in the description down below. But to summarize, a lot of the people that reached out to me were basically saying, who is this person? This person who just went to El Salvador for 10 days, and they're now trying to have some idea about how to solve the problems of the country. Who are you to say this? Who are you to propose any kind of solution when you're a gringo, when you don't understand the history of the country? How dare you? And also, like, you're really dumb. I had a lot of people think that what I was saying was specifically directed at them and also kind of an attack, I think, on their culture. The idea that to implement English speaking or to implement Western business practices into El Salvador would be ruining the culture and imposing the Western culture almost on that country. I was literally just reporting what taxi drivers, what Airbnb owners, what hotel owners, what other business people in the area that I met were telling me. I was literally just reporting it to you. And I was asking that question because I wanted to get a discussion going. And I'm not gonna lie here, I do kind of like being like a little bit controversial. I do like having some people that are a little bit riled up, but it also gets them going, gets them passionate, gets them heated about maybe also thinking about some of the solutions to this problem. One of the sort of like unintended benefits here of doing this and putting out this video was I actually started to have my wheels spinning in my head. You know, I started to get comments and started to get people reaching out to me and saying, you know what, I actually really agree with you. There needs to be more education. There needs to be more English speaking. And I even had people reach out to me via Instagram, via Facebook, saying things like, dude, if you were to ever do something like this, like you start a nonprofit, you're able to help people in some way, I would totally be on board. Or I know you're not a great Spanish speaker, Sal, like you're just trying to help out. And I'd be happy to translate for you if you're to make educational videos or things on business topics or career. I would love to help you out in that way. So first of all, that's really flattering. You know, that's great. It's incredible just the way that this video has blown up and also the story behind it. I've had a lot of people wanting to fill in the gaps with some of the questions that I have. And that's actually why I'm writing a book on this topic as we speak, going into all the different parts of the story which weren't revealed in that original video. The things when it comes to my adoption, my connection to the Latino community, how my parents felt about this, all this kind of stuff I'm revealing in this book, and I'm including a link down below if you want to get on the newsletter, basically, your name and email. I'll let you know when this comes out. So I want to ask you another question, and this question really has to do with how is it that we can help people in El Salvador in a tangible way? So the first question I have for you is, number one, do you know of any charities or nonprofits that are currently helping people in El Salvador either with their career, pursuing other opportunities, pursuing online opportunities with learning English? Do you have any nonprofits, organizations, or charities that are currently helping with this problem? The second thing is I want to tell you about a really cool website. So if you're not familiar, I also do another YouTube channel on crowdfunding. Crowdfunding when it comes to Kickstarter, Indiegogo, raising money for companies. That's really where I got my start in my career. I have a podcast, I have a blog, I've written more than 800 blog posts on that blog. I've written more than 6 books on the topic of crowdfunding. I don't say this to brag, but just mainly like this is my area of expertise. And one of the actual websites that not a lot of people know about is called Kiva. So let's talk a bit about Kiva and specifically how you can use this microfinancing website to distribute loans to entrepreneurs in developing countries. And number one, El Salvador is one of the country, but it's not the only one. So kiva.org. So I've had these guys actually on my podcast. I've also met with people that are staff members in New York City. So they're a legitimate company. And when it comes to El Salvador, actually 34 million, I think it's now like 34 million has been actually funded in terms of sending money to El Salvador and funding Kiva loans. So 35 million has already been distributed in loan value to El Salvador using the Kiva platform. So what I want to get for you is an understanding of how this works, what's happening behind the scenes, and also, can you actually trust this? Like, is this something that you could actually put your money in? So why is it that Kiva is an effective model? So what happens when you actually give money on Kiva? So first of all, on Kiva, there's what's called a fundraising amount. So this is fundraising goal. This is the amount of money that a business owner or an entrepreneur is seeking on Kiva. This could be upwards of $10,000, but it could also be $5,000, it could be $1,000, it could be $2,000. Basically, people are looking for this loan to fund this amount, and they're going to use that to expand their business. They're going to use that to purchase inventory. They're going to use that to basically grow the economy and also create new stuff, new wealth for their family. So there's a fundraising goal, number one. Number two, there is a funding duration. This is basically how long this loan is on the platform. And then you have contributions. So contributions are what you, the individual online right now, you can give money in order to help an entrepreneur fund this $10,000 goal. So rather than just having to loan them $5,000 or $10,000 or $2,000, you can give a contribution of $25, only $25 and up. So this means you, along with a lot of other people online, can all be putting in micro amounts of money, $25, $50, $100, and by doing that, collectively pooling the money, you can actually help them fund this goal. And this is where the whole crowdfunding part comes in with Kiva. After you make this initial lending, this initial donation, this initial loan, and someone has successfully raised money, they actually hit their fundraising goal, that person then has to repay their amount that they borrowed. So over the next 2 years, they have to repay $10,000, and that money actually flows back to you, and it also flows back to all the other people who gave money to help this loan actually exist in the world. But here's the catch. Rather than like if you were a traditional lender or if you're getting money from credit card companies, the people who are lending money on Kiva get 0% interest. The borrowers are getting a 0% interest loan from Kiva. So there actually is no interest. And this is kind of what makes Kiva really special. There is no interest. You know, basically, you can borrow money and you don't have to repay any extra interest as a result of that. And that is why this thing is so freaking powerful. Think about it. The person is getting the $10,000. They're having a bunch of people support them. And also they can then use that money to grow their business, to get inventory, to really grow this thing out. And also they don't have any extra interest to actually have to pay back to you. And then what ends up happening is it's a sort of this virtuous cycle. So we're gonna get into my drawing skills here, which really suck. So this is you, this little stick figure. You decide to give money, dinero, to Kiva. So Kiva then, you decide to invest in an individual loan. Let's just say you put $25 into one loan and then $25 into another loan. Kiva then, if that campaign is successfully funded, yes or no, is it funded? They then will distribute this money to a person in El Salvador, and that's the entrepreneur or the business owner. So they then get this money, the $10,000, the $5,000, they go out there, they build their business, they invest in people, they invest in inventory, all that kind of stuff, and then they are repaying this loan to you slowly over time, over the next year or over the next 2 years. So you're pushing out money out there into the universe. They then take this money, Kiva distributes it to this person, they grow their business, they pay it back, and then to you, you get that money back eventually, and you're able to then loan this out to someone else. So you get that original $50 that you started this process with, and you can actually loan that out to someone else, and sort of this karmic cycle of giving. And also in that way, you're not only just giving money once to charity, but over time you can continue to give that money. So you give $50 and then you get it back, and you give $50 to someone else, you make a loan. And the actual repayment rates are quite high on Kiva. So this is a really new model. This is probably why you haven't heard of it before. Microfinancing is still, I think, really small when it comes to the idea of charitable giving. But I just want to really quickly go over why this is legitimate, and also how you know you're going to get your money back. So the first thing is that the way that Kiva works in developing countries is they work with a field, I'm totally gonna spell this wrong, field officer. A field officer, it's their job to actually distribute this loan to the person when it comes time. So Kiva is working with a field officer who vets the person, who takes the loan application, who also then will lend that money to that person. And they might take a small fee or a small commission because they obviously have to go out to these different areas. They have expenses related to that. But Kiva itself actually takes no fee and there is no interest from the loans on the platform. The field officer might take a small percentage fee. So they're doing all the due diligence, they're handling all the security, they're making sure this is a legitimate person with a legitimate loan application, and also that they have the ability, based on this business model, to repay the loan in the future. A lot of the people who will actually invest in these loans are friends, family, people in the social network of the individual. So it's not just strangers online. And that's what really creates the social lending component, because if you don't give back money to your family after they lend it to you, if you don't give back money to your friends, it's going to be a little bit of an awkward situation. There's going to be some family tension. So because of that social pressure, people are far more likely to actually repay their loans on Kiva than if they used other traditional sources. If you want to look this up, this is known as social lending. And Kiva is probably one of the pioneers, I would say, when it comes to social lending. And this is the system. The system when it comes to crowdfunding, when it comes to giving smaller donations, smaller contributions, this entire system we just went over, having the field officer certify this loan, having the social lending pressure, this is what has led to $35 million being distributed to businesses and entrepreneurs in El Salvador. And that is how right now I'm deciding to allocate my money and to also help some of these businesses out there. I want to start to invest in loans on Kiva. And over the next couple of years, I want to find some tangible ways that I can help with some of the problems in El Salvador. I think this Kiva is a great way to get started with that process. I've thought of maybe doing a nonprofit thing in the future. I'm not exactly sure, but this upcoming book launch, this book that I'm writing, Finding Home, I really want to try to connect that with a larger cause in some way. So I would love to hear from you. My number one question, if you could reply to this video, if you could reach out to me on social media, it would be awesome. Number one, what orgs, nonprofits, other institutions help El Salvador? Which ones help? Number one. I'd love to get a sense of like the other charities that are out there, the other nonprofits that are out there. Are they effective? Are they not effective? Which problems are they attacking? Are they attacking education? Are they attacking other systemic problems with the actual country? Would love to hear from you. The second question I have for you is, are you willing to help? Are you willing to help in a larger way? And now it could be like I'm doing with Kiva. That could be one great way, I think, to begin to help, and also in a more sustainable way. I don't really like the idea of just like giving money to people. And the reason is, it's like you're giving someone a fish, but you're not teaching them how to fish. They're eventually just gonna need more money. And I know that foreign aid makes up a really big part of El Salvador. I know there's also so many systemic problems when it comes to the country, when it comes to the government, all this kind of stuff. But I really wanna try and brainstorm and ask you, what are the ways that we can actually effectively help these people going forward? And this is a long-term view that I'm taking. I would love to see something where we're basically teaching people to use services like Upwork. Upwork, if you don't know, is an online freelancing website where anyone can go on there, they can log on, they can create a profile or an application, and they can actually bid for jobs. They can just send in a proposal and say, hey, I want to work on this job. I want to start writing blog posts. I want to start doing this or that. I want to be a virtual administrative assistant. And I personally, for my business, I use Upwork and I hire people to edit my podcasts, to do things like administrative work, to upload videos on YouTube, all this kind of stuff. I use this, and they're from many different countries. I have a virtual assistant in the Philippines. I have people who work with me around the world, people from India who do whiteboard explainer videos for me. So it's not like, there's no reason why I think that people in El Salvador couldn't seek out opportunity elsewhere. But I think a few critical steps have to happen before that actually becomes a reality. You can go and check out all the links I mentioned down below in this video. But if you haven't yet, number one, take a second to subscribe to this channel so you can continue to follow me on this journey of discovering who I am, discovering my culture, discovering my past and my history. Number two, if you haven't already, go and check out some of my other videos on El Salvador, because I went there for 10 days and I filmed tons of incredible vlog footage. Going to waterfalls, going to Suchitoto, going to Santa Ana, like all these really cool towns in El Salvador. So go and check out those. And finally, don't be afraid to introduce yourself. Again, my name is Sal, and I'll see you next time.